piece of jewelry today, but thought that I would record it for you guys. We just got in these beautiful enameled pendants and components from Gardan, which this is a pinwheel component in a seafoam color. They're enameled brass and I really love them. I really love the color. I love that green seafoamy color. I decided I'm going to make myself a very simple necklace with it. While I'm making it, I thought I would film it for you guys and show you which materials I have and kind of what you can do and go with. So if you have a component piece that you want to make, you have some wire and you have some leather, you can kind of go to town. For this project, for this Gardan pendant, I'm going to be adding one of the tassels that we have here in one of the tassel mixes, a new check table cup button that we just got in, which are a fun limited run check button that we got when we were in the Czech Republic. And I have some Greek leather in 1 millimeter. In addition to those materials, I am using some 18 gauge artistic wire, and I have some pliers next to me. I have a wire cutters to cut the wire. I have a round nose pliers to make round loops. And I have a bent needle nose pliers to kind of push down on the wire. These are all part of the Bead On Sparkle tool set. Those are the tools that I prefer to work with when I'm doing wire working. And I have the 18 gauge wire in the artistic wire. You can also use the German style wire, which is going to be a little bit harder, but the art wire, for the point that I'm doing it, and because it's such a thick gauge, will work wonderfully just to make some loops to link on these different projects. For the actual pendant piece, I'm keeping it very, very simple. We just got in this pinwheel pendant, so I decided I wanted to use one of those. These check table cup buttons I found when we were in the Czech Republic, so I'm excited to use one of those in the design. And then picking up a tassel to make it really, really easy with some leather. I'm also going to do some slip knots on the leather, so I don't even need a clasp for the leather. To start out, I'm going to link all of these pieces and components together. You can do so with seed beads if you wanted to with some thread and needle. I'm going to do a simple link. I like nice simple projects that don't take a lot of time. Using the 18 gauge wire, I'm going to make some simple eye pins. When I start out with the wire, I'm going to start out with about a 4-inch piece of wire. Grab my wire cutters and cut that wire. This wire then in my hands, I'm just going to kind of straighten out. If you have a nylon jaw pliers, you can also use a nylon jaw pliers in order to straighten out the wire. The wire is going to be bent also as I'm doing this, so I'm not really worried too much about it being perfectly straight. From here, I'm going to grab my round nose pliers. The round nose pliers work that where you hold on that round nose is going to determine the size loop that you're making. Because I'm linking into the Gardan pendant and into the actual tassel here, I'm going to make the loop fairly big because I want it to sway and have some movement. I'm going to do a figure 8 to connect the two pieces together. So I'm going to go into the largest part of that round nose pliers that I can before it starts to kind of flatten out. And I'm holding the wire where I can see it in there between the pliers, but I can't actually feel the wire sticking out the top. So I'm not actually seeing it and stick out the top, but I can see it in there. Not overthinking it, I'm just going to make a simple loop, opening the pliers a little bit again and making sure that loop is nice and closed and the wire is meeting itself. That's going to be one of my loops. This loop is going to connect onto the tassel, and now I'm going to make another loop that looks like a figure 8 in order to connect to this pinwheel. To do so, I'm going to hold the pliers kind of straight up and put that loop that I just made on one of the loops of the round nose pliers. You can see that long piece of wire is coming out in the middle of that jaw of the pliers. I'm going to close up the jaw and take the rest of the wire, the bigger piece, around the opposite way. It's going to kind of stop next to that big loop that I already made. Without really stretching that, I'm going to take it off the pliers, and you can see you have almost that figure 8 shape. Put the second loop that you created back on to that first loop of the pliers, having the first loop off the jaws. Take that extra wire and just fold it down so that way you have the loop completed. It's almost going to look like an old-fashioned kind of pair of eyeglasses that loop is on the middle. And what I'm going to do then is go in with my wire cutters. Right where the wire is starting to touch on the other side, I'm going to take my wire cutters and cut off the extra wire. That's going to give me my figure 8. I have a lot of extra wire here, which I'll use for my button as well. So I'm going to stick that figure 8 kind of off to the side, and while I am working on wire, I'll work again. What I am going to do for you is that figure 8 again, even though I'm not going to be using it in my actual piece, I'm just going to do it one more time for you. So I'm taking it where I can see the wire, but I can't feel the wire hanging out of the top, and I'm turning the round nose pliers with a simple turn of the wrist in order to make a loop. Taking that loop, I'm going to put it back on the round nose pliers to where it stops, with my extra wire coming straight out down the middle between those two jaws. I take the wire then around the opposite way of the round nose pliers. You can just kind of draw in your mind that figure 8. Once that wire is touching the other loop, I'm going to kind of slide it off those round nose without really opening the round nose pliers. Put that loop back onto that first jaw that the first loop was on initially and close that up. Once that comes off, I'm going to take it where the wire starts to touch itself, cut off that extra wire, and you have your figure 8 loop. So again, I'm going to set that off to the side, and now I'm going to make a link basically to house the button and the gardien link. Because this loop would not fit in the button and not connect to it, I need to make it larger. What I'm going to do is kind of exaggerate that loop with my round nose pliers. So I'm going to go in here with my round nose, start my loop, and just make it a little bit bigger than I would need to. You can even, I have a lot of hand strength because I'm used to doing this, so I can even kind of close it up. If you have a mandrel, you can do that as well. Or the other technique you can do is bend it a little bit like a shepherd hook here. Put the wire into the button. And then what I like to do is just kind of close it up right along the button there. Grab my needle nose pliers, pull that wire towards me a little bit. And again, where it is crossing over, I'm going to make it straight right underneath the button. And where that's crossing over, I'm going to take my pliers, here, those wire cutters, and cut. That way it's almost like an exaggerated eye pin that you have that nice loop that is connecting the button here. And I like that it can move around and it's not really stiff as I'm working with it. And these buttons are a little bit inconsistent because they're table cut. So some sections are a little bit thicker than others. So you just want to keep that in mind as you're creating. On the bottom here then, I'm going to make a second loop, just like a figure 8 like I was before. Going ahead and making another loop along the bottom. Once I have that loop, I'm going to cut that loop off. I'm going to repeat and do the exact same thing on the other side of the button. So I used some of my wire to make my second loop to show you guys. So I'm going to just cut another little piece of wire, go into my button here, and put the wire through, or you can arch it and start that loop first. Bring the wire down and kind of crisscross it near the button. Cut off that extra wire. And if I'm using a precious wire, I usually, like a sterling silver or gold wire, I usually won't cut off that extra. With this craft wire, I don't really worry about it. From here then, I have my one loop of my figure 8. I'm going to go in back to where the wire kind of stops right next to that figure 8. Go in here and create my second loop by taking the wire around the round nose pliers. And then going in here with my wire cutter and cutting that off. From here now I get to piece it all together. So whenever I open the eye pins, I'm going to slide the eye pin off to the side rather than pulling back. What that does is prevents that nice rounded shape that we got from our round nose pliers from opening up. I'm going to slide my gardien loop on and then make sure that wire touches nice and flush, that you're not going to lose your pendant at all. From here, I'll add one of my figure 8s, picking it up, bending the wire off to the side. I'll put my loop on, close it up. You can, if you want to, the tassel. You can also iron them if they get a little bit kind of wonky. Again, open up the second loop, add on my gardien pendant here, close it up, making sure that it's nice and closed. And then I have my component piece finished. So you can see I have that nice linkage done. All I have to do now is slide the leather through, and I'll show you guys how to do an actual slip knot on the pendant piece. So the first thing I'm doing with my leather cording is I cut it to about 36 inches. That's the longest I'm going to want my piece, because by the time that I put the tassel on and the link and everything, this really is about 4 inches long. So 36 inches is going to be the max of what I want it to be in length. So I'm going to put the leather now through that last little figure 8 loop of my pendant, and I have my 2 ends kind of sitting next to one another. I'm going to move the pendant off screen here and get ready to tie my slip knots. So the way that the slip knots work is we're going to tie one side of our leather onto the other side of the leather. So I kind of have the leather doubled over itself with one end on one side and one end on the other side, creating a loop. That first end, what I'm going to do is take the leather and simply tie it in a knot around the one side and pull down. Going to the other side now, you have the other piece of your leather, and I'm going to tie a knot around the other side. And if I have a little bit of waste as far as leather to cut off, it's not a big deal. So I'm tying another loop with that other leather just being on the inside. Give a nice tight pull and pull that knot closed. Once I have that, then this creates a slip knot. So the knot can slip along the cording on both sides, and I can change the length of the piece that I'm wearing. I can then go in if I want to and trim down the leather, or I can keep it organic looking that I have a little bit of that tie left. I can make it at its shortest then, completely doubled, so that way it would be about 18 inches when I'm wearing it, and have the leather be hanging down from there. You can also change the length if you want to and make those slip knots even closer or further away as you wear it. So it can be kind of doubled up and be part of the look and have that nice pendant piece. Again, this is just a nice simple project with the fun things that we just got in and we just received that I wanted to show you guys as I made something for myself. If you need any of the materials for this, down below the video in the date stamp that says when the video was produced, we'll do a little link to all the different products that are online here again. Remember, these are kind of a limited run mix of the table cut check buttons and then the fun Guardian pendant, as well as the tassel and the leather. As always, if you want to, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel, and then you get regular updates when we bring you new products, do new designs, new patterns, and stay updated with what's going on at PotomacBeads.com. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram, as well as Pinterest. And on Facebook, you can even join our group for beading and jewelry making. There you can show us the projects that you're working on, ask for advice, show us the new and latest things that you have, what you're looking for, ask questions, and just get a wonderful response from a wonderful community of beaders that love to make jewelry and love to assist and help others and get inspiration as well. As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you get a chance to get your hands on some of these new products, have fun making this pinwheel long necklace.